Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to the Hindu News Analysis for 17th March 2026, and this is Shyam Kagot taking up the analysis for today. Now, before I start, please do give the confirmation that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Those present in the session, please give the confirmation. Am I audible and visible for all of you? Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So, in today's analysis, I've taken a total of 10 articles, 9 of them from the Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper, and one more article from the Indian Express. This has been done in order to ensure that the coverage will be comprehensive, helping you the answer questions in the prelims as well as the mains examination. If you're liking this particular session, do not forget to hit the like button. And if you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start, here is a very important announcement. Recently, the UPSC Civil Services Exams 2025 results have been announced. And in the final list, more than 100 learners from the Unacademy's online classroom program are there. As a part of celebrations, now the Unacademy IAS courses are available at a discounted price. I've been told that the offer price, which is the lowest 16,999, is available only till the end of today. Those interested in enrolling, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. And whatever is the price mentioned in the website, use the code IAS English to avail the discount. Now, in addition to this, one more very important announcement. I've taken one session on one of the chapters, important chapters from Standard 12th of Maharashtra Board textbooks on Indian economy. I've taken one class that is on national income. There are 3 more classes that I'm supposed to take. The second class will happen tomorrow, that is 18th of March, and the discussion will be on public finance. And day after tomorrow, again, there will be a third session, financial markets in India, focused on what is mentioned in the class 12th book of Indian economy of the Maharashtra State Board. Both of these sessions will be conducted live on the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel evening at 6 p.m. And one more very important thing, I know a lot of you are preparing for civil services examination in addition to other competitive exams as well. And one of the very important areas where the questions will be asked will be Indian economy. And I know a lot of you feel difficult in terms of covering the current affairs of Indian economy. So starting today, I'm taking special classes evening at 8 p.m. Today, evening at 8 p.m. Do join the session. In joining the session, all you need to do is scan the QR code that is visible right now, hit on the button enroll, and join the session live at 8 p.m. starting today. And it will be conducted on the platform. Just for clarification, these two are on the YouTube channel and the special class on the Unacademy platform. Let me start the discussion. The first important article, why India must electrify its kitchens. In the last 15 days, I'm pretty sure all of you have come across the concerns in India associated with supply of LPG. You must have seen in the news, you must have seen the photos in the newspaper, and I'm pretty sure some of you have experienced this particular issue when you're trying to order something in a hotel or a restaurant when they're basically saying there is no availability of LPG fuel as of now. So, amongst multiple recommendations that have been provided, that is the long-term solution which will help us overcome these kind of, let's say, disruptions which might happen in the future. One such recommendation is, can we shift away from using LPG and start using electricity? Is the point clear? Can we shift away from using LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, and start using more and more electricity? And I'm pretty sure you have seen this, the demand for induction, right? Induction electric ware has actually increased. There are multiple stores where these induction heaters are not available right now because the stocks are exhausted. Reasons is simple. More and more people have started purchasing the induction rather than being dependent only on the LPG. They are worried that there might be a crunch in the supply. They may not get LPG for cooking purposes. So in this particular context, there is a discussion, lot of data has been provided. Lot of data has been provided in this article. Now, what are the important points? Let's understand one by one. In case of India, I'm talking in the context of India. In the context of India, the annual expenditure that we incur in terms of importing cooking gas, is $26 billion. And the demand for the cooking gas in India has increased. We are using piped natural gas for cooking purposes, that is in certain number of households. And we are also using LPG mainly LPG in order to, right, basically prepare the food and serve the food in the Indian households. Now, the problem is when you're too much import dependent, and it should not be very surprising to you now, India is very highly import dependent in the context of LPG as well as the piped natural gas. But of course, as a percentage of import dependence, the import dependence in LPG is much, much higher. And this is not the first time that there have been concerns, there has been a disruption in the supply. In the past, in 1 decade itself, there have been multiple instances because of the disruptions that are happening in the global market. Mind you, not in the Indian market, but because of the disruptions in the global market, there is lesser availability of LPG in India, which has hurt the consumption by the common man or the common households. And this is problematic for a simple reason. On one side, the government of India promotes consumption of LPG. It has implemented multiple schemes. For example, I'm pretty sure all of you heard of an initiative, Ujjwala Yojana, under which the government of India has identified beneficiaries and has provided subsidies so that the LPG consumption increases. So on one side, the government is promoting the consumption of LPG, but on the other side, whenever these kind of disruptions in the global market take place, it will create a problem for households. Households are forced to purchase LPG from the black market. You're basically seeing multiple middlemen, intermediaries abusing the system, hoarding the cylinders so that further shortage is created so that they will be able to sell it at a much higher price in the black market, etc. So what is the solution? One solution that has been discussed in this article: shift away from LPG for cooking purposes to, let's say, usage of electricity for cooking purpose. But if you start shifting away like this, there is one more problem. The benefit of moving away from LPG is simple. Our import dependence will go down. Is it okay? It's very simple. Outcome will be our import dependence on LPG will go down. At the same point of time, the government of India spends huge amount of money in providing LPGs, that is in a subsidized manner. In the context of this, the government provides a lot of subsidies, and right, when the government will provide for the subsidies, the overall expenditure of the government because of this subsidy will be higher. So if you move away from the usage of LPG to the, let's say, usage of electricity, the benefits are import dependence eliminated. The subsidy expenditure on the government will also be very low. But at the same point of time, now if the usage of electricity or the demand for the electricity increases, don't you think that will put a larger burden on the distribution network in India? Because mind you, as of now, there is already a concern associated with availability of electricity. And when I say availability of electricity, I'm simply talking about 24/7 electricity supply. 24/7 uninterrupted quality electricity supply. In the context of India, there is already a concern that there are multiple instances where we do not have sufficient electricity. For example, now we are slowly and steadily entering into summer season. Let the summer season take full effect. The temperatures will start soaring, which are already rising in many parts of India. With rising temperatures, utility of many of these electricals will start to increase. People will start using more and more AC. People will start using, right, let's say, air conditioner. They will start using fans, etc. So in addition to the existing demand, now there is higher demand because of the summer season. And the problem in case of India is we do not have sufficient quantity of electricity to satisfy the demand for 24 bar 7. We do not have sufficient amount of electricity. And that is the reason I'm pretty sure some of you will see this happening in multiple places where you're residing. During the peak summer, there will be cut in electricity. That is essentially load shedding. There will be, right, cut in the electricity, there will be load shedding. Lot of these distribution companies will not be able to handle the demand because they have limited amount of electricity. Now they will announce cutting electricity for certain number of hours in each of the regions. So the advantage of shifting to electricity is simple. One, the import dependence as well as the LPG subsidy burden will come down. And according to, right, have a look at this, according to the estimates which have been published in the newspaper, given in the newspaper, using electricity to cook is much more efficient. I'll repeat the statement. Using electricity to cook is much more efficient. It is much more efficient compared to using LPG. And in the context of India, if you shift from, let's say, LPG to, right, let's say electricity, then there is one more problem. You will not have sufficient electricity to supply. In that particular context, what can be done? What is the solution? First important, right, recommendation that you can provide or the solution for the distribution companies, that is the DISCOMs, is that they can increase the production of electricity. Simple, they can increase the production of electricity. There are many of these DISCOMs which are producing electricity through gas, that is by burning the fuel gas. They can ramp up the production, increase the supply. That is one method. Second method is essentially, right, look at this. Essentially, you can promote renewable energy, which is being done by the government of India right now. You can promote more and more renewable energy installations. For example, wind energy. For example, solar energy. So you can promote production of electricity through renewable energy. But the problem in case of India, in the context of this, the problem in case of India is there is a problem called as a duck curve problem. Listen to me carefully now. There is a problem called as a duck curve problem. What is the basic idea of a duck curve problem? The production of electricity, especially when I'm talking about electricity here, I'm talking about renewable and specifically within renewable, solar. Because the largest component of capacity within renewable is the solar. So the duck curve problem is an issue. It simply means that there is a mismatch between the peak production of renewable energy and the peak demand for electricity in India. Simple. The peak production of renewable energy will happen during daytimes. But the demand, that is the peak demand for the electricity, will take place in the evening times. After 3 o'clock, it is said it will start picking up. It will hit the peak at around 9 to 11 p.m. At around 9 to 11 p.m. And the problem in case of India is we do not have sufficient storage facilities. We do not have sufficient storage capacities. Right? That is the precise reason why the government of India has implemented an initiative by the name of Battery Energy Storage System. Battery Energy Storage System. Under this, the government is providing a viability gap funding. That is, financial assistance will be provided for the development of storage capacities. And this storage of electricity that is done using, let's say, the renewable sources now will be stored and supplied to different consumers, including the distribution companies in the market. So anyways, so what are the recommendations? One, you can go for, right, let's say renewable energy, higher production. You can go for higher production through, right, let's say burning of the traditional fuels such as gas. Third one is the DISCOM can go to the spot market. Spot market essentially means the market where electricity right now will be sold and purchased. So the DISCOM can go to the spot market and purchase electricity and supply so that the demand and supply mismatch is addressed. And finally, if anything cannot be done, If any of the above measures cannot be done by the DISCOM, it will essentially go for power cuts. I use the term load shedding. And one of the student asked, what is load shedding? My dear, cutting electricity supply for certain number of hours, certain time. It could be half an hour, it could be 1 hour, etc. That power cut process is called as load shedding. So these are some of the recommendations that have been provided. So in order to address, finally, what is the way forward then? In order to provide the solution, what is the way forward? One, have a look at this. Can we use smart technologies? Listen to me carefully. Can we use a smart technology such as Open ADR? Open ADR stands for Open Automated Demand Response. What is the basic idea? Certain technology will be implemented, infrastructure will be developed. Now this Open ADR system will detect if there is a sudden spike in the demand and we do not have sufficient supply of electricity. Simple. It is monitoring system. It will monitor whether there is sufficient supply to meet the demand. Now let's say suddenly there is a spike in the demand because people are starting the fans or switching on the fans, switching on, right? Let's say the tube lights, etc., etc. Now this system will detect and basically send a signal so that the supply and demand mismatch will not arise. So what do you mean by this? Let's say it will send signal to industries to reduce the consumption of electricity. It will send signals to commercial enterprises to reduce, right, let's say the usage of electricity by adjusting the temperature in the ACs, etc., etc. So can we use the smart technologies such as OpenADR, which has been used in multiple countries such as South Korea? In India, in fact, a test has been conducted by Tata Power Delhi Distribution, wherein using OpenADR, they have shown that they were able to reduce the peak demand of electricity by 14%. In addition to this, another recommendation, a way forward can be, we are promoting the solar electricity production through solar rooftop panel systems. Right? There are initiatives under which solar rooftop installations are being promoted. What can be done going forward is, can we develop a market where one household which will produce more electricity can sell this additional electricity to, let's say, another household? That is, in simple terms, the P2P market. The P2P market. P basically stands for peer to peer. Can we develop P2P market where rather than selling it only to the distribution company and then supplying it to the household, can we sell it across different consumers in the market itself? So these are some of the recommendations that have been provided. Everybody is okay? Please do let me know in the chat section. So this is basically the complete coverage of the first article which has been provided. Why India should shift to electrify its kitchens. Now based on this, please look at the MCQ. Solve the MCQ and tell me the correct answer quickly. Consider the following statements regarding Battery Energy Storage Scheme. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. The energy stored can only be used by renewable energy generators and not DISCOMs. It is being implemented by the Ministry of Power. Under the scheme, VGF is provided. How many of the statements are true? Do let me know. How many of the statements are true? It is a centrally sponsored scheme. No, BESS is a central sector scheme. It is a central sector scheme. Energy stored can only be used by the renewable energy generators and not DISCOMs. This is incorrect. Right? This is also incorrect. Why? It can be used by renewable energy producers as well as the distribution companies. It is being implemented by the Ministry of Power. Yes, this is true, by the way. Don't be fooled by this particular statement. In prelims, what they might do is, instead of Ministry of Power, they might write Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. It is Ministry of Power. Okay. Third statement is correct. Under this scheme, VGF is provided. VGF essentially up to 40% of the project cost. Up to 40% of the project cost. TPC, project cost. Up to 40% of the project cost will be provided by the government. That is viability gap funding. Yes, the statement 3 and 4 are correct. 1 and 2 are incorrect. Right option for the question will be option B. Now let's go forward. a question for you to practice mains answer writing as well. Electrification of cooking can reshape India's electricity demand patterns. Analyze the implications for power infrastructure and grid management. In 250 words, 15 marker question. Everybody is okay with the discussion of the first article? Can we move on to the second one now? Second one, Belem as a test of new model of forest finance. What are the important points? Let's understand one by one. Very recently, COP30 was conducted in the month of November in Brazil. Correct? It was conducted in November 2025 in Brazil. And the place it was conducted was essentially named Belem. Right? So Belem Declaration, Belem Conference, etc. That is the reason the place name is used. Now, during this particular conference of parties 30, Brazil introduced a new financing mechanism by the name of TFFF, TFFF or TF3. The full form of TF3 is Tropical Forest Forever Facility. Tropical Forest Forever Facility. And mind you, this initiative of TF3, I'm using short form TF3, although the correct pronunciation will be TFFF. Okay, so TF3. So the initiative TF3 has been promoted by Brazil. And what is the objective under TF3? It is an initiative where financing will be raised. $125 billion, that's a target by the way. Financing will be raised and these finances will be invested in the market. The finances will be invested in the market. And whatever returns are generated, the money will be used to provide certain assistance, to provide funding or assistance for conservation of tropical forest. Conservation of tropical forest. Is everybody okay with the mechanism here? Please do let me know. It is a proposal. Right, I'll repeat it again. This proposal has been put forward by Brazil. India has joined the TF3 by the way, but not as a member right now. It has joined as an observer. Multiple countries have committed providing funding for TF3. Under this, the funds will be collected. Now, these funds will be invested in different markets. The objective that has been proposed as of now is to invest in government bonds, right? Invest in other corporate debt instruments, and there will be certain returns generated. Now, the money will be utilized to provide assistance for those particular countries which will conserve tropical forest. The proposal is essentially to provide around $4 per hectare. Proposal as of now is to provide, old proposal by the way, $4 per hectare. So the objective under this is simple. We are going to provide funding if you conserve the forest. If you conserve the forest, right, that will reduce the deforestation of tropical forest. Is everybody able to understand the mechanism here? This is a TF3. Now, what is being discussed in the article? Simple. The pros as well as the cons. The pros as well as the cons. What are the pros? This will essentially promote conservation of tropical forest. Tropical forests, by the way, are very, very important in terms of protecting ecosystem, right? Protecting the global climate, etc. Tropical forests are very important. So it will help conserve the forest. And second, for the first time, he said, for the first time, there is a financing mechanism that has been proposed, which will provide incentive for conserving the existing forest. You are conserving, you are protecting the existing forest, I will give you the money. So this kind of a mechanism has been introduced for the first time, right, by or proposed for the first time. If this is the advantage on one side, and I hope you understand, all of this will fit into the narrative of ensuring the global average temperature does not rise by more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is basically one of the goals under Paris Climate Agreement. And it is fitting that this particular proposal was announced in the conference which was conducted on the 10th anniversary of the Paris Climate Agreement or Paris Climate Conference that was held back in the year 2015. So simple idea. Right? These are the advantages. But at the same point of time, multiple concerns or multiple issues have been raised. And the article discusses more of concerns. The article has a more of a discussion on concerns. What are the concerns? Point number one, when you want to implement this kind of a financing mechanism, is it just sufficient to provide, right, let's say money for conserving forest? Is it just sufficient? The argument here is by focusing on preserving the existing forest, what about the forest that has already been cleared? Correct? What about the forest that has been already cleared? Now, what if mining is conducted in this cleared forest? What if other kind of activities which will pollute the environment are conducted on the forest which is already cleared? So the argument or the counter argument is, by focusing only on the conservation of the existing forest, are we not turning a blind eye towards, let's say, the usage of the land where deforestation has already been conducted? We are not looking into that particular aspect as well. We should focus on the land which has been cleared after deforestation. That is the first criticism. Second criticism is, by announcing this kind of a financing mechanism, you want to raise funds from countries, you want to raise funds from the private parties, etc. By providing this kind of a financing mechanism, are we not simply giving a freedom, or are we not simply ignoring the fact that the burden of providing these kind of finances should be on the shoulders of developed countries? Because historically, if you see, it is the developed countries which have consumed most of the resources. It is the developed countries which have caused most of the pollution. So you are giving basically, right, a leeway to these particular developed countries by not proposing a financing mechanism where they are the most contributors, rather than you are simply collecting the funds from, right, any other member or any other countries like this. So developed countries now will be given a free pass in that particular sense. The third important concern is the participation of stakeholders. The participation of the stakeholders. That is, in these particular, right, forest, lot of tribal population resides. For the tribal population, it is not just a matter of clearing the forest. It is not just a matter of deforestation. It is a matter of survival for them. So are we considering the viewpoint of these stakeholders? Are we providing the returns to these particular stakeholders? Are we providing the land protection right to these particular stakeholders? That is one more very important concern that we are supposed to look at. And the fourth very important concern is, the mechanism under TF3 is to collect the funds, invest in market, get the returns, and provide money for conserving the forest. Don't you think if you invest in certain markets, let's say corporate debt instruments, what if the whole economy falls into recession? The global market falls into recession. Now just think of it. If the economy falls into recession, your investments will be eroded. Your investment value will suddenly drop. Now, what about your returns? You're not earning returns. Rather, you might incur losses in terms of your investment only. So, are you not taking a higher amount of risk by investing in market determined, right, let's say, returns? Right? So, these are some of the concerns which have been raised in the context of the TF3 mechanism that has been proposed here. Everybody is okay? Can we go forward? Can we go forward? Now, associated with this, here is an MCQ. Please solve the MCQ and tell me the answer very quickly. Please participate and tell me the answer very quickly. Lot of you become dormant during the discussion. I want you people to participate and tell me the answer. Consider the following statements regarding Tropical Forest Forever Facility. It is set up by United Nations. Is it set up by United Nations? Incorrect. India has joined this as an observer. Yes, last year the announcement has been done by the government. The fund has proposed to invest the money in the market to pay for forest conservation. Yes, the third statement is also true. So second and third are correct. Right option for the question is option B. Only two are correct. Next, third article, India-USA trade deal. Just an update here. India to sign US deal only after clarity on tariff rates. It's been more than 6 months since the negotiations between India and USA have begun. There have been so much of, right, let's say churning. There has been so much of uncertainty in terms of deciding the trade deal. What should be the tariff? What should be the rate, etc. Just to give you a brief idea, last year, the government of USA, right, basically imposed tariffs on trading partners. It announced on the Liberation Day last year, the USA administration basically announced tariffs on the trading partners. Targeting India, they proposed and imposed 25% tariff on most of the exports. Most of the exports that go to USA, more than 50% by the way. And later, this was further increased by adding penal tariff. That is, right, penalty tariff because we were purchasing crude oil from Russia. It was imposed with another 25%. This took the total tariff on India's exports to 50%. And since then, the negotiations are being conducted between India and USA. And very recently, right, very recently, last month itself, there was one proposal, right, where both the parties gave in principle agreement, where India agreed to sign a trade deal, USA also agreed for this particular deal, and the announcement was done. And they said this particular penalty tariff will be withdrawn, and this 25% will be brought down to 18%. The 25% tariff will be brought down to 18%. But since then, there have been so many changes in the stance taken by the USA administration. There have been so many other outcomes which has basically which has made it very difficult to finalize the trade agreement. Why? What am I talking about? This 25% tariff that was announced by the USA administration was essentially using a provision under IEEPA, Emergency Provisions Act. Right, so the USA administration used the provisions under IEEPA and imposed a tariff. But the USA Supreme Court held that whatever tariffs have been announced by the administration of USA using the provisions under IEEPA are not valid. And that is the reason government of USA has announced certain tariffs, that is 10% and again changing, etc., using the provisions under different act. This is one change that has happened. And if these tariffs are illegal, if these tariffs are not valid, then the basis of the discussion was on these particular tariff. The basis of discussion was this. So the whole discussion becomes, right, useless now. The whole discussion now has to be revisited. And that is most of the countries, that is exactly what most of the countries are doing right now. In addition to this, right now the tariffs that have been announced under the Trade Act, these cannot be implemented beyond certain time period. These are limited to 150 days. So we also want to wait and see what USA will do after 150 days. That's the second important point. Third important point, earlier USA said, you purchased crude oil from Russia, I will impose tariff of 25%. Now they want us to purchase crude oil from Russia. What if again they will change the policy? We will be hurt because now we have to suddenly stop again importing crude oil from Russia. So again, there is so much of uncertainty. There is so much of uncertainty regarding the changing policies which keep on changing on weekly basis, on daily basis in the context of USA administration. That is the reason the government of India now has taken this particular stand. That is the parties which are part of the negotiation. They are simply saying, give us clarity. Give us clarity regarding what is your tariff rates. Give us clarity regarding that. Only and only then we will be able to sign the final trade deal between India and USA. Done? Everybody is okay? Next one. After violence, Meghalaya government extends the tenure of Garo Hills Autonomous District Council. Garo Hills Autonomous District Council. Now, what are the important points? The Autonomous District Council, which are set up in multiple states in India, essentially we have 10 autonomous district councils. These are set up under the 6th schedule of Indian Constitution. And basically under these, by nature, when you look at the term autonomous, obviously it means powers are given to these district councils. Autonomy is given to these particular district council. Autonomy in terms of executive policy, in terms of legislative policy, etc. Now, what is there in the discussion? Simple. In one of the district councils in Meghalaya has three district councils, by the way. In one of the district councils, that is Garo Hills Autonomous District Council, there was a violence. There were certain activities which led to violence, which also led to death of certain number of people. What actually happened? Simple. The idea is that these are basically consisting of tribal population. These regions consist of tribal population. So there was a proposal that was put forward by the district council which stated that people who will produce the ST certificate, scheduled tribes certificate, only they must be allowed to contest elections. What is the election concept in the context of autonomous district council? These district councils will have 30 members, and I'm talking about GHADC now. There are 30 members. Out of 30 members, 29 members are elected. 29 are elected and one member will be nominated. One member is nominated. Now, for the elections, the proposal basically stated that anybody who will contest the election must produce a scheduled tribes certificate. And the object is very simple because it is set up for the tribal population in order to protect the interest of the tribal population. The argument was people who are contesting should belong to scheduled tribes. And in this particular region, because of the neighboring state, etc., there is also a certain population which is non-tribal population. So essentially, the violence broke out between, or the let's say friction broke out between these two groups, and that actually led to violence. Now, what is the announcement done by the state government? The state government simply stated the elections which were supposed to happen on 10th April. The elections were supposed to happen on 10th April. These elections will be postponed and the tenure of the current district council will be extended. The tenure of the current district council has been extended. By how many months or by how many days? 6 months. This is the latest update in the context of the Garo Hill Autonomous District Council. Okay, let's go forward now. Next article, important one. Please remember all of this. And by the way, after the class is over, I'll ensure that the PPT is available in the official Telegram channel. Download it. Now, what is the importance of this article? Naval warships escort Indian vessels from the Gulf of Oman. I'm pretty sure all of you seen the map of West Asia now. Where is the Gulf of Oman? Where is, let's say the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf? Which countries will open the borders or will have the borders towards all of these gulfs, etc. If you are yet to observe them, please do observe. Expect a question in the prelims examination. Now, what is this Operation Sankalp? Listen to me carefully. Operation Sankalp was launched by Indian Navy back in the year 2019. Back in the year 2019. And the background to that was very simple. In the Red Sea, when the vessels were basically transporting, and in addition to the Strait of Hormuz, there is also Red Sea. Basically, towards the left of this, there is a Red Sea. In the Red Sea, when the vessels were being transported, now there were Houthi attacks, Houthi terrorist attacks. And these particular attacks were conducted basically on the pretext or on the argument that the Western countries are supporting Israel in the context of Israel-Palestine war. And we want these particular support or this support to be withdrawn. So we will basically disrupt any kind of a transportation that is going to happen through Red Sea. So Houthi attacks were being conducted in order to provide protection for the Indian ships, Indian merchant vessels. The government of India, that is specifically Indian Navy, launched Operation Sankalp. Now this particular Operation Sankalp now has been extended to cover the merchant vessels which are passing through the Persian Gulf, through the Strait of Hormuz and through the Gulf of Oman, and moving towards India. Because mind you, from this particular strait itself, it should not be surprising or it should not be a new news also for you. A lot of LPG supplies happen. A lot of LNG supplies takes place. Lot of crude oil supply also happens. So the attacks on the merchant vessels has not just happened in the Persian Gulf. It has also taken place in the Gulf of Oman as well. Right, certain attacks have taken place in the Gulf of Oman as well. Now, in order to provide protection to these merchant vessels, the operation Sankalp has been extended. Multiple vessels or the merchant vessels now have been provided with, let's say, the security by naval warships. Everybody is okay? Question can be asked on Operation Sankalp. Please be very careful. In fact, there is one more mission. I'll talk about that. It is in the context of European Union. Right, so this is one article. Now, in the context of this, please observe this particular, let's say, pictorial representation. The most important straits in the context of oil supply, or gas supplies in the global market are these three. Question can be asked on these. Please make a note of this. One is the Strait of Malacca. Right now, the discussion is only focused on this, that is the Strait of Hormuz, the Gulf of Oman, etc. But the Strait of Malacca is also important, equally if not more important. So it is the Strait of Malacca which accounts for around 29%, latest data, around 29% of the total crude oil supply in the global market. In addition to this, there is the Cape of Good Hope as well, which accounts for around 11%, and there is a Strait of Hormuz as well. So all these are important straits or the passes. Please observe them, make a note of it and revise it before entering into the UPSC Prelims examination hall. And don't worry, it will be there in the PPT. That picture will be there in the PPT. Download and just observe it. Okay, next one. United Nations and European Union now are discussing an initiative for Hormuz Strait. What is the importance of this article? Listen to me very carefully. In the recent times, now there is also discussion between European Union as well as United Nations as to how do we provide protection, how do we ensure seamless transportation of the vessels will happen through the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, I'm pretty sure all of you heard of statement given by the President of USA. European Union countries were not part of the war. They were not part of the decision-making process. They were not even consulted. United States as well as Israel started the war. Now they want, specifically USA, the President of USA wants NATO to come to the rescue, ensure that the Strait of Hormuz remains open, attacks will be prohibited, etc. But the members of European Union are very clear regarding this. They have given the statements, or their opinion is that we are not party to the war. As of now, we are not party to this particular war. We did not start. We are not participating. Then how should we simply come to the rescue of the vessels, ensure that the Strait of Hormuz will remain open? Because even one mishap, if you start participating here, even one mishap, it will basically drag these member countries of NATO into war. They will be dragged into war. Even though they are not participating, now they will be dragged into war. That is the reason NATO member countries as of now, even Britain, by the way, they have not shown any kind of an inclination towards the, let's say, the proposal that has been put forward by the President of USA. But the argument is, can they do something in this context? What are the solutions that they can provide? There are three discussions, or there are three proposals which are being discussed. One is essentially the Black Sea grain deal. One is Black Sea grain deal. Now, what is this Black Sea grain deal? This particular Black Sea grain deal was basically signed with intervention of United Nations and Turkey between Russia and Ukraine. This was signed back in 2022. And what is this Black Sea grain deal? When Russia attacked Ukraine, the war broke out. Both of these member countries are major suppliers of fuels to the global market. They are major suppliers of fertilizers. They are major suppliers of food grains, especially Ukraine. Now, in order to ensure that the trading, that is export of wheat, that will be done from Ukraine to rest of the world. Otherwise, suddenly there will be a shortage created. The vessels cannot pass. Russian attacks will basically destroy these particular vessels which are carrying food grains, etc. So there was basically an agreement that was signed between both of these parties, stating that the supply of the food grains, right? The passage will be provided for carrying the food grains to the right outside world. That agreement is called as a Black Sea Grain Deal. So similar to this, can we do something in the context of West Asia right now? This is the first proposal that is being discussed. Second proposal is coalition of willing. Coalition of willing. What is this idea? There are multiple countries who have come together, right? Voluntarily, they have come together in order to provide certain solution to Ukraine and Russia. Right? They want to offer some peace. They want to offer certain deal so that the war between Russia and Ukraine will be stopped. And that grouping is called as a coalition of willing. Now, can we propose a similar kind of a agreement or similar kind of a, let's say, deal even to the countries which are involved in this particular region so that the war in West Asia will stop and the global market will return to normalcy? That's the second type of a proposal. Third proposal is, can we extend, right, the mission? Can we extend the mission which was launched earlier back in the year 2024? The name of the mission is Aspirants. Aspirants mission. Right? This particular mission was launched by European Union back in 2024. And what was the background to that? Same. Attack on the vessels which are passing through the Red Sea by Houthis. Right? Or Houthis. So basically, in order to provide protection, this particular mission was launched. But please understand, under this mission, the European Union, which basically follows the United Nations principles, under this mission simply stated that if any vessel is passing through the Red Sea associated with the European Union countries, and if there is an attack on this particular vessel, only to prevent the damages, only in that particular case, if they are attacked, then there will be a counter attack. It is for defensive purposes, not for offensive purposes. So this particular mission, Aspirants, which is a Greek word, this particular mission was launched back in the year 2024. Now the discussion is, can we extend this, right, in the context of Strait of Hormuz? These are the three proposals which are being discussed. Let's wait and see what will happen in the coming days. Now, based on this discussion, here is an MCQ. Please solve the question and tell me what is the correct answer to this particular question. Consider the following statements regarding Operation Aspirants. Mission focuses on offensive and defensive strikes, including land strikes. The mission's operational command center is in Greece. It operates in line with UN Security Council resolutions 2272/2024 and 2768/2025. How many of the three statements are true? I will agree to your assessment that question is difficult. I know, right? Some of you will basically look at the statements and simply say, sir, question is very difficult. Yes, I do agree. So mission focuses on offensive and defensive strikes, including land strikes. Incorrect. The mission's objective is only defensive strikes. I'll repeat, only defensive strikes, not offensive, no land strikes at any cost. Only defensive. Second statement, mission's operational command center is in Greece. Yes. Please remember, yes. Right? In fact, Aspirants is a Greek word. It basically means shield. It is a Greek word, right? Basically means shield. Okay, so second statement is correct. It operates in line with UN Security Council resolutions. Yes, this is also true. These resolutions are associated with United Nations condemning, right, the Houthi attacks. And the resolution basically also supported the countries, right, in order to protect themselves. Can they go for defensive attacks in order to protect themselves? Answer is yes. That is basically the United Nations Security Council number I've given here. Okay, so second and third statements are correct. Right option for the question is option B here. Let's go forward. Sahitya Akademi Awards 2025. Sahitya Akademi Awards 2025. So finally, Sahitya Akademi Awards for the year 2025 have been announced. Right, under the Sahitya Akademi, 24 people or 24 writers, right, will be recognized. And when I say 24 writers, specifically, right, writers from 24 languages. 24 languages. So writers from 24 languages, their writings will be recognized and award is provided or award is announced by Sahitya Akademi. Now I use the statement, finally the Sahitya Akademi Awards have been announced. Why? Generally the practice is in the month of December these awards are announced. Is the point clear? In the month of December the awards are announced. So as usual, December 2025 the Sahitya Akademi was ready to announce the list of the winners. Right? Suddenly there was a notice that was sent, a letter that was sent by Ministry of Culture, because it functions under the Ministry of Culture, by the way. A letter was sent from the Ministry of Culture to the Sahitya Akademi and all the other academies, including National School of Drama, asking them to not announce any kind of awards till there is a revamping in the, right, let's say, scheme for the awards. Is my statement clear? The Sahitya Akademi was almost ready to announce. Then a letter was sent by the Ministry of Culture asking them to stop the announcement. So after this has been done, now, right, the awards for the year 2025 in 24 languages have been announced by the Sahitya Akademi. What is given when the awards are provided? They will provide a copper plaque. Remember, can be asked in the prelims examination. A copper plaque is given, a shawl is given, as well as a cash award of 1 lakh rupee is given. 1 lakh rupee. And by the way, right, what is the answer to this question? Do let me know. How many languages are recognized in the Constitution of India? The awards are given for 24 languages. But this is my question to you. In the Constitution of India, how many languages are recognized? Right now. Those who know, let me know the answer in the chat section. And later, whoever is watching the recorded session, do let me know the answer in the comment section. 22? Right? All those who have given the answer so far have said 22. Absolutely right. 22 languages. Under the Constitution of India, 22 languages. But here, the awards are given for 24 languages. So please be very careful. Now, based on this, here is a question. Consider the following statements. Sahitya Akademi is a statutory organization. It awards only for the original work and translation works are excluded. It functions under the Ministry of Culture. I'm pretty sure all of you are confident about the third statement. All of you are pretty much confident about the third statement. What about the remaining two? Let me know. Sahitya Akademi is a statutory organization. No, this is incorrect, by the way. Sahitya Akademi is not a statutory organization. It is an autonomous body which functions under the Ministry of Culture, and it was set up back in the year 1954. It was registered as a society. It was registered as a society under Societies Regulation Act. Right? Societies Registration Act of 1860. Right? 1860 Act. So first statement incorrect. It awards only for the original work and translation works are excluded. No. Sahitya Akademi Award is for original work. Sahitya Akademi Award is for original work. There is also Sahitya Akademi Translation Award, which will recognize even the translation work. Right? So second statement is incorrect. Third statement is correct. Right option is option A. Only one is correct. Okay. Let's go forward. Right, couple of small articles. Vela carli, a crab species. Right, something special has been discovered now. Something special. A crab in the Silent Valley found displaying both male and female biological traits. A crab in the Silent Valley found displaying both male and female biological traits. Right, the name of this particular crab is Vela carli. For the first time, in the family of this species, for the first time, the same crab is exhibiting the traits of both male as well as female. And what has been discovered is in this particular Silent Valley, which is a national park, by the way, and I've given the map also. Please have a look at this. Question can be asked in the prelims. This particular Silent Valley is a national park which is located in Kerala. In addition to this, also, please make observation regarding what are the other, let's say national parks in Kerala, wildlife sanctuaries, etc. Just observe it. You never know what UPSC will do. So, Silent Valley National Park, what the discovery is showing is that the same crab, for the first time in this family of the crab, it has been seen that The crab is having two features. One of basically, right, the male features, the part of the body, right, that is exhibiting male features, as well as the female features. That is, traits of both male and female are present. And this particular situation is called as gynandromorphy. Gynandromorphy can be asked in the prelims. Please be very careful. And the name of the family or name of the species, in which family this has been found for the first time? It has been found in Vela, carli. Done? Everybody is okay, right? Just factual information in this particular context. Just make a note of this. One more very important judgment by Karnataka High Court. Important. I'll tell you why. In multiple instances, it has been seen that there have been quashing of the cases where, right, let's say a certain crime is committed and, right, certain reparations is done later. For example, let's say in certain cases, right, let's say a person is hurt, but the person who has committed crime will make certain amount of payment and they'll settle the case. The problem in these kind of cases, and I'm just talking about one example, same can be seen in many rape cases also. Same can be seen in multiple murder cases, etc. Where the argument is crime is committed, but later, right, basically they'll try to settle the case by making certain arrangements. In this particular case, which is associated with a child marriage, in this case, which is associated with a child marriage, a 27-year-old man was married to a 16-year-old child, 16-year-old girl child. And the marriage was done, obviously, because the, right, let's say the girl is 16 years old, still a child. Obviously, it will be considered as a child marriage. A criminal case was filed. Now, the argument that has been taken to the Karnataka High Court is stating that the couple is happy. The couple is happy. Because the couple is happy, this particular case should not be continued and the criminal case must be quashed. The Karnataka High Court has rejected this particular argument. The Karnataka High Court basically has stated this is not the way, right, where the child marriage is conducted first, and just because the couple is happy now, we will cancel we will basically cancel the case. That is a criminal case, by the way. Because argument here is, once the crime is committed, that's it. Once the crime is committed, the person who has committed the crime must be penalized, should be punished. And in this particular context, the High Court also stated that if the marriage has taken place in, let's say, a temple, then the temple authorities are legally supposed to check the age of the girl. If they have not checked, they are participants of this particular marriage and they are part of this particular crime. The action should be taken against them as well. Is it okay? Right? So what happens after the marriage is immaterial in such case. If the crime has been committed, child marriage has been committed, then it will be considered as a criminal offense and action shall be taken. Right? So this is basically the order which has been issued by the High Court. And the right order is right, let's say, in the right direction. Reason being, just because the children are happy, right, after the marriage, the children are happy, they have become adults now, that is never the right reason to first and foremost be involved in the child marriages. And this, if at all the High Court would have quashed the criminal case, then it would have sent a wrong signal to rest of the society, where many people would have simply taken this as an opportunity and they will force the girl children who are below the age of 18 years, they will force them into marriages. And because of the family pressure, societal pressure, etc., they will never come out and simply say, we are not happy. And argument will be because they are happy, so no criminal case should be filed against them. Right? So this is a judgment which has been issued by, or which has been given by the Karnataka High Court. Now the last article for today, the author who detonated the population bomb, Paul Ehrlich. Paul Ehrlich, right? Important. Please make a note of this, right? This particular, right, let's say the sociologist, right, or an expert, social expert, wrote a book on the concept of a population bomb. And what is the basic idea? And it is related to India as well. Very old policy, wherein the argument was the growth rate in the population is very high. And this one I've taken from Indian Express today. This is from Indian Express newspaper. The argument was there is a very high population growth rate. And because of the high population growth rate, the earth doesn't have sufficient resources to support the population. The earth does not have sufficient resources to support population growth. For example, let's say if the population keeps on increasing very fast, don't you think the amount of food grains that we have may not be sufficient to cater to the food requirement of the fast growing population? In fact, it was pointed out by him that India is moving in the same direction. India will face problems in the future. Although over a period of time, the theories have been disproven. There have been lot of criticism against the theory, but the logic is very simple. Population grows very, very fast. There will not be sufficient resources to cater to the population. This might actually lead to certain adverse events in the nature, which will automatically correct the population growth. Right? So this particular theory was given by Paul Ehrlich or Ehrlich. Okay. So he has passed away. He has passed away. That's the reason this is there in the newspaper. Please make a note of the person. Done. So these are the 10 articles I wanted to discuss with you people in today's session. If you have any kinds of doubts, issues or concerns, do let me know before I close the session. And by the way, if you have liked the session, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. And just a reminder, today evening, 8 p.m., those are appearing for competitive exams. If you find economy very difficult, especially current affairs, do join the special class where I'll be covering economic current affairs. And tomorrow and day after tomorrow, evening 6 p.m., write 2 chapters from the class 12th book of Indian economy from Maharashtra board. Okay, any doubts? USA, country USA. Okay, there was one doubt which was asked earlier. I did not want to stop the session to explain that. The question was associated with this concept. Right? That is the first article that I was discussing. The question was associated with open ADR. The question of the student was how the open ADR will provide the benefit to common man. The argument is very simple. If you don't manage the load correctly, if you're not able to manage the load correctly, load shedding will hurt the common man. By using open ADR, which is basically a smart technology, we are trying to manage the supply as well as the demand. That is basically the argument in favor of open ADR. Okay, so that's it from my side. Take care. Right, have a great day. See you tomorrow sharp at 10 a.m. in the Hindu News Analysis session. Have a great day.